Welcome to the Stir It Up podcast, where our purpose is to encourage, challenge, lift up, and stir up the body of Christ to love and good works. Hello, and welcome to the Stir It Up podcast. I'm Michelle Dowdy.
And I'm Starla Harbin.
And we're so excited today to have my friend, Ashley Wright Tillery. And welcome, Ashley.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
And Ashley works with me. She's a pediatric occupational therapist. So maybe just tell people a little bit about your background, like your educational background. They might be interested to know where you went to school. And
yeah, I actually knew I wanted to be an occupational therapist back in middle school. So it kind of was the plan all along. Like, I had met a friend that had cerebral palsy and got to go to her therapy sessions and loved the field. And so kind of always knew that's where I was headed. And so I did my undergrad at the University of Georgia in exercise and sports science. And then I got my master's in occupational therapy from Brenau University in Gainesville.
And you loved Athens, that area. So that's where you landed. Right.
Yes, I tell everyone I moved for college and I left and went and lived in Gainesville for my very first year of OT school, and I drove back to Athens like 3 times a week to see everybody. And I said, I can just live in Athens and drive to school instead. So I moved back to Athens and commuted for my second year of OT school and then haven't left again. So I'm happy here.
Been a physical therapist, did you say?
Occupational
therapist.
I've been OT almost 2 years now. I graduated in December of 23.
Okay.
Right. So she's been working with me since she got out of school and doing some other things too. So, but just learning the ropes and just growing in her field. But Ashley got married in April.
Yes.
Right. It was April. And, I was privileged to go to the wedding. Mark and I went to the wedding, and it was just such a beautiful day and a beautiful wedding. And as we talked about it later, and she and I, talk on the phone or have lunch or whatever, and I just shared with her just the things that I loved about it, about the wedding, and just kind of how I, through my eyes, how I viewed it. And I said, I'd love for you to just come on the podcast and just talk about the things that you did, to have a Christ-centered wedding, because that was really what came across to me about the whole thing. So she said, yeah, I'd love to do that. So I don't know, podcast world is a world you've been in before, but it's like, she was like, yeah, I'll do it. So anyway, but, just tell us about, I feel like each and everything was so intentional that you did. Tell us about even the decision to have your wedding in a church rather than a venue.
Yeah, first of all, I'll start with a kind of a funny story. I told my husband, Kevin, that we were doing this, and he was like, why do they want to hear about our wedding? It was just a wedding. Like, we did it just in the way that it made sense to us. And I think that kind of does reflect in what you'll hear me talk about. Like, it just made sense to us. This is who we are, and it's a representation of what we believe. And so it just made sense to us, and the decisions that we made a lot of sense in the life that we lead. And the other thing that I'll start by saying is, Kevin and I, from the very first time we sat down and discussed our wedding, we said, like, this is the one time that we get all of our people in one room. Like, all of our people get to be in one place, and we get to control what is said. And that was a responsibility that we did not take lightly. And yes, it was our wedding day, but it was so much more an opportunity to present the gospel and to have all of our family and friends in one room. Despite whatever they believed, they showed up to support us, and they got to hear what mattered to us. And so we really just took every opportunity, like Michelle said, to center Christ and to have his name proclaimed throughout every portion of the day, because it was our day that we got to do that and to kind of control what was shared with our people. And so that was a really special part about it to us. And so Kevin and I met at Beach Haven Church in Athens, Georgia. And so we just really wanted to have our ceremony there. It kind of is a place that is really special to us. It is totally non-traditional these days, which is crazy that it's non-traditional to have your wedding in a church, but it is. At this point, 99% of weddings are held at a venue, and our reception was at a venue because there was not a room large enough in the church for the reception itself. But the ceremony was held at our church, and I had to keep reminding all of our vendors, like, no, I'm the weird one. Our ceremony's off-site. Our ceremony's at the church. It's going to be different. But That was the place we met. It was a place that was really special to us. And so we were honored and really privileged that the church let us use the sanctuary and get married there.
That's awesome.
Well, I think so many times now, I love what you've shared so far about how it was important for you really to control the narrative because you wanted it to represent Christ. And, when Russ and I counsel with couples that are getting married, we talk so much about it being a holy day because the world has really sold it as an event, an occasion to party or to, it is a celebration. But to me, you are making a covenant before a holy God, and it is a holy day. And so I just appreciate what I've heard so far about really how y'all handled that and the heart in which, you even felt led to plan it.
Yeah. And it's a covenant, not a contract.
That's right.
So I think you definitely that came across. But I think even just from walking in the room, and when we first walked in, and there were already a lot of people there, we weren't, I guess we were maybe 20 minutes before the start or whatever. So there were a lot of people in there, but just, I thought the simplicity of, your decor was just that cross, a large cross up at the front, and then some flowers on that cross. And I think, wasn't that the only thing that you had in the way of decoration?
Yeah, we had little lanterns to mark the family pews, but that was it. Pretty much on the stage, it was just the cross and the flowers.
Yes. So that was not lost on me. That that was it. That was the center.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I don't know if you even know this, Michelle, but my dad built that cross. That was
I know.
Our family, and my dad built it, which is really special.
So. Yes, you did tell me that later. So that really just slayed me right there when I learned that. Yeah, like, Dad made the cross. Like, yeah. So that is so awesome. It's so meaningful, and because that just says, okay, this is the center. Right. We are not. Nothing else is on display.
Right.
But
it showed everybody in the room.
Yeah. So it was beautiful. It was a beautiful cross, and just the simple flowers that were there. So that was a beautiful thing. Another thing that struck me was, and I know, I've seen some people do this, but communion, Karis did this. That was the first thing. Wasn't that after you'd taken your vows? So that was the first thing you did as a married couple.
Yes. Yeah, that was really special to us. There's so many ways to do that, like, unity part of the service. And Kevin and I just really felt like communion was such a important part of the Christian faith, and it's the sacrament that we wanted represented in our wedding ceremony. And it also, from a practical perspective, like, gave us a minute to step away and, like, soak in all that we had just done, and give us a minute to just stand there together on stage and kind of soak in the magnitude of the day and all that had happened, and then to pray with our pastor that was standing there marrying us, which was really special too.
That's awesome. And then just even the music, you had piano and a violin, and you had a vocalist, but it was just there again, just simple, just God honoring lyrics, and everything that you chose I thought was just perfect. Is there anything else about the ceremony that you want to say, as far as, because I was going to talk about the reception too, but is there anything else you want to say about anything that went into your decisions?
I don't think so. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We really enjoyed the ceremony and everything. Something that's special to me before we even started the actual ceremony is in the bridal suite. Like, all of my bridesmaids took a minute and prayed over me, which was really, really sweet. And I didn't even ask for that. Like, my maid of honor just started it. And so it also reminds me, like, my faith is, yes, mine, but I have surrounded myself with a community of believers, girlfriends that are really strong. And even when I was not, like, I was already thinking about walking down the aisle in the wedding and all of that. And it was my friend Caitlin that stepped in and was like, let's pray first. And so surrounding ourselves with community that prompts us and positions us towards prayer, even when it's not my first inclination, is really important too.
That's awesome. Yeah. And when we walked in, just to the foyer in the church, it is quite a large church. It has a traditional look to it. But inside has been renovated and recently, so it's it's not too much of a traditional look. But anyway, walked into the foyer, and Kevin was outside, like in the foyer, just kind of greeting people. He hugs us, and I'd only ever met Kevin one time before, at your shower, and so he's hugging everybody, and you could tell he's a little nervous, but it's like excited.
Right. That
it was just so cute. But it was like just even walking in the room, I just felt like the Holy Spirit was there. I felt it just from the minute I walked in the room, and I felt like I could tell it had all been prayed over, and just as it unfolded, it was just so good. So
yeah, at the rehearsal dinner the night before, we had kind of talked through last minute logistics, and I wanted all of like the groomsmen out there greeting to usher people and everything. And Kevin was like, "Well, I get to be out there too, right? Like, you're not going to make me sit in that room and be by myself and not get to see everyone. Like, I wanted to greet everyone." And I was like, "That's totally fine. I don't care. It's fine." So, yeah, he was out there too.
And then, even a couple of special things about your reception, which you had at a different location, that was really beautiful. But your parents had written a letter to each person. We all had this nice letter, a beautiful envelope. It was just beautifully presented and everything. And they had written a special note, not just a stock note, but they wrote something that was personal to you, and I thought that was just so sweet. Instead of some little thing of Hershey's Kisses or something that's sitting on the table, here's this nice, and it was such a beautiful thing. So who came up with that idea? I thought that was a really good idea.
Yeah, that was fully my parents. That is their delight, is just to really speak truth into people's lives. And my dad especially loves writing letters. Like one time a while ago, made it his New Year's resolution. He was going to write a letter a day to different people. And so like throughout the year, he just kept writing letters. And it was really cool to see how people really appreciated a handwritten letter. And so they really wanted to do that for the wedding and get to write and tell every person, thank you for coming and for being there. And then the other thing they did was they asked if they could leave the ceremony like immediately after it was over and go straight to the reception venue and be outside greeting people there as well. And so that was fun. We had to kind of do some logistics things with pictures to make sure they were done and could go straight and greet everyone there. But yeah, they wanted to make sure that every person that had taken the time to come to our wedding knew that their presence was really appreciated. And so they did. They wrote those letters, and it was really special.
Are you the only daughter, or do you have sisters?
I am. I have a younger brother, but I'm the only girl.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was
kind of funny when they were telling me about it later. They apparently started writing the letters, and then they got frustrated with how many times they had to start over. So they typed everyone's, and so they could edit it, and then they handwrote them after that. So I was like, that is so much work, but they really delighted in that.
You probably were there 200 people maybe at the reception?
There were like 225, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say at least 200, I would think. Yeah, so that was a lot of letters. Yeah. And Mark and I he got one too. Like it wasn't just a couple. It was like in front of every place. Everybody got beautiful. A letter.
And I'm off camera, but I will say too, I whose ever idea was to do the cakes like you did, that was really cool.
Yeah, we're getting to. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was another fun thing that you did that I don't know if that was just your original idea, but I told y'all about it the next day. Remember I was talking about the wedding, but so tell everybody, I'll just let you tell what you did with the cakes instead of
I will fully give credit where credit is due. I stole that from one of my cousins up in Ohio. Okay. I have family up there, and one of them got married a couple years ago, and her mother-in-law bakes cakes, but she didn't feel like she could do the whole like big wedding cake. So she was like, what if I do little cakes and you just let everyone have one on their table? And I just loved that idea because I really felt like it created a sense of community, and people got to walk around and kind of hang out with each other. And so I was like, we're doing that. And my wedding was on on a bigger scale than hers, so it ended up being a lot more cake than I really thought through in my brain, I think. But it was so fun because we had they were 10-inch cakes from a local bakery that I love for True Loves. I don't know if y'all have True Loves.
Yeah.
Yes, we love
True Loves. So that's where they were from. And we just had 10-inch cakes at each of our tables. And when we when we cut our cake and dismissed everyone to their cakes, I just said, like, please go ahead and cut your cake when we cut ours. But if you have a flavor that's not your favorite, then please feel free to get up and try another cake. Like, there's plenty all around. You just find the one that you want. And that was another way of just building community within everyone that was there and getting people up and talking. And you never know how something like that is going to go. It's kind of like in a church service when you like extend an invitation to do something that people aren't used to. You're never sure how it's going to land. Like, are people actually going to respond? I don't know. But people really bought into it really, really well. And everyone was going around and greeting and enjoying the type of cake they wanted. And we had a lot of fun stories of people, even during dinner, there were a couple of tables, I think, Michelle, you were at one of them, that would like switch cakes with their neighbors because they wanted a certain flavor.
Hey, it was like became a competition. Like the guy go try to steal like another cake that they liked. Because we had, was it Italian cream or carrot cake? Like it was one of those kind of,
Yes.
kind of cakes or whatever, and I love that. Mark liked it, but it was like somebody at the table didn't, they wanted chocolate. So that they sneak over here to this other table, they steal a chocolate cake, and then in a minute, then our carrot cake comes back or whatever. So, but you had carrot or Italian cream and what, chocolate, key lime, was there strawberry or something like that?
Strawberry, there was a red velvet, and there was a vanilla with just chocolate icing, I think. There were 6 or 7 different flavors.
Wow. So it was just fun, and then people would get, they ate a lot of dessert. Right. Come and cut some of your cake if they didn't steal the whole thing. So.
Yeah, now y'all are making me want a cupcake. So.
I know.
True Love's cupcake.
I
love those.
we'll have to go get some. And then another thing that you did is when you were going to throw the bouquet, you did something special with that I thought was so neat. So share about that if you would.
Yeah, I'm kind of the last one of my friend group to get married, which is interesting. But I've never loved the tradition of all of the single girls coming out on the dance floor and like catching the bouquet. Also, my very best friend did my flowers, and they're incredible. She's an incredible wedding florist. And I was like, I just don't want to throw these. I don't know that I can make myself do it. And all of that came together, and I just felt like my mom needed to be honored. Like, my dad had gotten a first dance. Kevin's dad was his best man, and Kevin's mom had gotten a dance with him. And I just felt like there was nothing for my mom. And so I stood up and got to dedicate her the flowers to her, and she got to come up and receive those, which was a really special part of the day, too.
So sweet. I think everybody was teary,
so
because it was just so sweet.
Yeah.
And Ashley said, I don't think throwing this bouquet, I don't think the Lord, that has nothing to do with who gets married next or the Lord plan for you. I think that's what she said. I was like, go, Ashley.
Not at all. That's right. So
she's like, I'm going to give this bouquet to my mom and honor her. And it was just the sweetest thing. So what parents they must be.
Mm-hmm.
So, like this.
We're very blessed. Yeah, absolutely.
And another thing, and we'll just get into this a little bit, but you and Kevin lived separately, before you got married. There was no hint of, like you're cohabitating or anything like that. In fact, he lived with your pastor for a little bit after his lease to his apartment was up. And that in itself is so unusual these times, where if people are engaged, they might just be more lax about whatever. But it was like I felt like I saw during that time that you kept those lines very, structured. Mm-hmm. And that was another thing that just spoke to the fact that you held marriage in honor.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Kevin's lease ended in January, I think, and we didn't get married until April. So there was like 10 weeks-ish where he didn't have anywhere to live. And so randomly we recognized that our pastor and his wife have like a rental apartment space on their property, and we were like, well, that would be perfect if we could just rent it from them. They do it as a short-term Airbnb thing for football season mostly, and we're like, there's no football in January through April, maybe it would be open for that. And so we had asked them about just renting it directly from them, and our pastor was like, well, let me talk to my wife, I'm sure we can figure something out. And then came back a couple weeks later, and he was like, we would love for you to do it, but don't rent it from us. Like, just live in our house. We have an extra bedroom. Just come live in our son's extra bedroom. And so that was extremely generous of them, and we will forever be really, really thankful for that kindness, but also the wisdom that they poured into us during that season. It was really sweet to have Kevin living over there, and we would just end up having dinner at their house because he lived there. And so it was a really special time in our lives of getting to know our pastor on a deeper level. And him and his wife are really, really special to us these days.
And Kevin is a great guy too. I mean, he's just, you don't have to be around him long just to realize how special he is too. So
yes.
you both did good, but well, we have enjoyed this time just talking about the wedding. I guess this is girl talk. Like our guys, probably have maybe tuned out, but maybe, but this is one for the girls today.
And that's okay.
That is okay. Yeah.
That's
we
all
know this is mainly for our women anyway, that our podcast is, but actually, a part of what we do is stirring it up in the kitchen. So we want to stir each other up to love and good works, as Hebrews 10:24 says, but then we want to stir it up in the kitchen too. So I asked Ashley if she would bring a recipe. So I know you've got a chance to work on your cooking skills a little bit more probably lately.
Yes. I'm so glad that you texted me to remind me, because I listened to the podcast, but I just didn't connect that I'm going to be a guest and I have to bring a recipe. But you were on my radar. I was going to show up with that one. So I was thankful for your reminder. But I was thinking about what to bring, and I was like, I have family recipes that I love to share, or I have different things that I've enjoyed cooking over the years. But this is one that I found right before we got married, and then I think I made it every week once we got married, and recently I spaced it out. But it's a beef enchilada recipe, and we love Mexican food, so any sort of enchiladas, these are super easy. And like I said, I think we ate them all the time when we first got married, and I would make them and put them in the freezer, or just make a pan to have when people came over, or just on an easy weeknight. So I'll read the ingredients first and then give you the recipe at the end. So a pound of ground beef, taco seasoning, an onion, 2 cans of that red enchilada sauce, a can of green chilies, a pack of tortillas, and then a cup and a half of shredded cheese. So you're going to brown the ground beef and add the onion while it's cooking, and then drain off the grease, add the taco seasoning, and then you stir into that the chilies and 1 of the cans of red enchilada sauce. And then I always make mine in one of the glass 9x13 Pyrex pans. So you'll take that second can of red enchilada sauce and spread half of it in the bottom of that, and then just make your enchiladas. So get the tortillas and put in, I just use a spoon and scoop in a spoon and a half of the enchilada filling, roll it up, add cheese on top of it, and put it down in the 9x13 pan. And so you just make those until it's full. It's normally 10 or 12 for me. Add more cheese on top, add the remaining half can of that red enchilada sauce, and then it goes in the oven for 20 to 25 minutes at 375. So we love them. Super easy.
Yeah. That's a great football
It
thing
does.
too, because it would make a lot.
Have some chips and salsa, or
You
queso.
could even cut them down the middle, and then
That's
you have
right.
20 or whatever, I mean, if you serving it with other
Oh
stuff,
yeah, if you have other things.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great. Love that.
I always make it with cilantro lime rice. There's a recipe in one of Joanna Gaines's cookbooks that is so good, and so that's what I'll pair it with a lot of times, but it's great.
Yeah, that does sound good. Well, that is another good one. And, we're talking today, we do have plans to do a cookbook.
Yes.
So this will end up in the cookbook with Ashley Wright Tillery's name.
Yeah. And the show notes, so people can always see our recipes in the show notes.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
See the exact ingredients and all the things.
Recipe.
Yeah.
So.
Well, this has been great. I've so enjoyed visiting with you today, and hate I missed your special day, but the Lord didn't allow us to meet until now. So
Right. And she's just
down the road. I
and
know. I live in Commerce, so
Yeah.
you're really not.
Oh, yeah, you're not far at all from me.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, thanks again, and I love Ashley dearly. She's like one of my own, and so I'm glad she got to share with us today.
Yes.
So,
Beautiful.
Thank y'all for doing this and having me. This was fun.
Awesome.
Thank you for joining us today. May the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ and the love of God and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all.